I mean, if y'all don't know, like, I made my name, started off doing, I did the Banging on Wax Arab record, and I just made my name, like, from a lot of street records and doing a lot of street shit. But you talking about hip hop that I've been involved in, I made my first record when I was 11 years old. So, as passionate as I am about these LA streets, I'm even more passionate about hip hop. I just got stuck in a box because I made my name and made money in those realms. But when it come to hip hop, like, this is what it is. You gotta understand, man. The first time I met LL Cool J, I woke the whole house up at 3 o'clock in the morning coming from Jack the Rapper at 11, 12 years old. You know what I mean? This
Wow.
is when hip hop
Wow.
was, you know what I mean? Like, we don't have that type of experience no more with Jack the Rapper and all those different type of those music conferences and stuff like that where you walk through the hotel and it's just like thousands of rappers. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You got battles going on in the corner. You know what I mean? I remember
In the
walking by a
elevator.
battle. Yeah, I remember walking by an elevator in the Marriott Hotel, and there was a battle going on. Corrupt was right there, and it was this kid, and I couldn't understand why was he rapping so fast. And later on, I realized that was Twister. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? And it's like,
So
and just picture a young Corrupt coming from Philadelphia. You know what I mean? I remember when he got his name. My boy Mental Marcel Williams, the one Tupac talk about him all the time, where his name is Mental. He's the creator of Thug Life. My best friend taught me how to rap. You know what I mean? He gave Corrupt his name. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of different elements, man. You talk about even back in LA, we had our own culture that a lot of people don't remember about. We met up at the Hawthorne Mall at Electronic America, and it was battles
Yep.
every weekend.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? By Druno,
Hmm.
that was before the Good Life.
Yeah, I used to be up in there.
You know what I mean? And it's
How
like,
about the
and
arcade?
just like this, it's just like certain elements and certain music make you wanna see certain things. Like you said about the infamous Mobb Deep album. You wanna go where they lived once you listen to that album. You know what I mean? You wanna
Mm-hmm.
walk those
hmm
streets and see where that's at.
100.
Yep, and
Nah,
that's
that's
how I
real.
felt. That's how I felt about like MC8 and CM Dub and shit like that. Cause I'm, at that time I'm living in Brooklyn and I'm listening to West Coast music and I'm like, yo, these niggas is wild. You know what I'm saying?
Come on, man.
Yeah, man.
One time gaffled them up, please.
that's my
The
shit.
tape the tape was blue.
hmm
You know, like these is just elements of hip hop and music that you know we may not never the nostalgia of it. You know what I mean? It's up to people like us that's on the phone right now to kind of keep this stuff alive or to die. If we don't preach it and bring in just the methods of how the music is being made, you know what I mean, and just how to keep things going on, that's why things fade away because the people that are truly passionate about our art and what we do, we're in positions, but we're not in the right position that's gonna move the needle. That's why true R&B is fading away. That's why true hardcore hip hop is, you know what I mean, it gets misplaced. You know what I mean? When it's being handled, you know what I'm saying, when it's being handled and the needle moved by culture vultures like Leor Cohen.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And kiss ass is like fucking Steve Lobel.
It's
You know what I'm
real.
saying? I
Nah,
don't know
that's
if
real
these dudes are
talk.
any of y'all friends or nothing, but this is just how I feel.
Nah,
You
that's
Right.
know what I
real
Right.
mean?
talk.
And it fucks up a lot of stuff that goes on. You know what I mean? That's why we don't have, the radio play, the radio stations, you know what I mean, and the play, the people in power to sign these people. You know what I mean? Real MCing and real music that's being made is now what considered to be underground. TF, Rock Marcy, Jay Worthy, all these type of dudes. It's a
Right.
whole world of these type of rappers and sound, but it can never be it can never be in the mainstream stage because of the people that's in the offices. You understand what I'm saying? It can be big, and
Mhm.
it is big, but the people in the offices worried about is they freaking to it on TikTok? Is how many times is it being streamed, and all these different things. You know what I mean? Like if we could get Baju a vice president job in Sony, and get PolyRob an A&R job in Def Jam, and you know what I mean, these type of things going on. Now the needle is moving. Now you get in the future with the nostalgia, and it's all mixing together, and the influence is changing.
Or we
You know
can
what I
just
mean?
have
Facts.
Now,
value in, or we can just have value in the institutions that we create and just stop like bowing down to these other labels and just
exactly.
doing our own shit. Like at the end of the day, we don't gotta, that's if we feel like they're the ones who are turn or culture vultures, so to speak. Well, then we need to be the ones who create to set the culture. So we have to have respect in our
Exactly.
own products that we bring to the table. So there's a lot of labels out there right now that we can just jump behind and put all them resources toward those labels. I love what
Yep.
Snoop Dogg is doing with just taking all the Death Row stuff off the platforms and saying, "No, we gonna take control of how we distribute our music." And I think
Yep.
that's the best move to make right there.
I mean, right now is the best time for its independence because ain't nobody making no real money anyway. You getting 0.0034% of a penny for a fucking
Word.
stream.
Word.
So right now is the time where you could take chances like this. You know what I mean? Because I mean, shit, what you lose, what you losing? You know what I mean? I gotta put out 86 songs. The NBA YoungBoy put out 86 songs last year. 86. That's like 7 albums.
Hmm.
How are you gonna get a classic out of 7 albums? Nobody not gonna fucking remember the third one. Now you
Mhm.
got kids that'll know the songs, but their attention span only lasts so long. In 10 years, they probably ain't gonna remember all them songs. They're not gonna talk about those songs and those albums like how we talk about the Mob Deep, the Chronic. It's not gonna be memorable.
It's real.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
And then the influences change, just like New York, like y'all from the East Coast, right? But look for a whole by our peers and different people fade not being in place no more. Look at what influence took over. You got a whole hip hop realm of New York kids rapping like they from Atlanta and Detroit. Same with Los Angeles.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got a whole realm of kids out here, rappers that's calling it West Coast gangster rap. That shit is drill music. That shit ain't what we make. You murdering everybody on every record. You ain't made not one song about a bitch. Excuse me, bitch females, ladies. But
Facts. Facts.
it
Where's
ain't no.
bitches?
There has to be someone who just makes a party drill record that you can just groove to. You ain't gotta murk nobody. Just have a good time. Fuck it, I'm finna
But see,
produce
that's
it.
the wrong influence. They drill music. They making the music and they really going out killing 30 people for nothing.
And then come back and make a new song about what they just did.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like they talked about us and tried to censor us with gangster rap. Hell, we didn't lay out the whole murder on them damn wax and put a sticker on it. You know what I mean? So it's until we get people in the right positions, you know what I mean? It's just gonna be like a hamster wheel, you know what I mean? And people people like everybody that's on the phone right now will continue thriving because the passion is what keep us going. You know what I mean? And we'll be able to win in our arena. But these are some bright minds that should be in higher places. You know what I mean? And I remember when Potty Rob called me and told me to come in and talk on this. You know what I mean? That's where I'm looking at it as. You know what I mean? We got
Mhm.
the wrong people. Is the wrong people. The wrong people are just in the wrong positions.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You had 5 artists, like 6 acts got dropped from Epic this year because they were signed based on what they did on TikTok and social media and shit like that. That shit is lightning in a bottle. So when you try to go put them in the studio to make an album, they got lucky off of something a bunch of people was acting a fool off of. They're not real artists. They're not real. You know what I mean? You can't get no real music out of them. Where they at now?
Yeah, they don't know how to craft.
It's just
So,
that. You know what I
so what's
mean?
the solution? I mean, so we know, so we've identified the deficit. So what's the answer? Like, how do we change this around? Like, what's the solution?
Yeah,
I mean, because I'm 45 years old, so I mean, and there's probably the age range on this phone of different influences and backgrounds. But at some point, solutions need to be made, and support has to be given where it needs to be given, so we can start supporting the culture from our perspective and start pushing our agenda. So, what are the
We got to
solutions?
start figuring out how to figuring out like the people, like you say, you're 45 years old. I'm 48. We got to start figuring out the different roles and getting into the rooms and pressing our way up into these different places where we're going to be effective at on a bigger scale. That's where we upscale ourselves. You know what I mean? We got to keep moving up the ladder instead of just saying, okay, I'm just going to control this underground right here. Nah, we need to keep going.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We
Well,
need
we
to
have a
keep going
platform.
further.
And we have a
You know what I
platform
mean?
with BTSN to do that. I think BTSN is like that
hmm
platform that we all can put our energy behind and just say this is the thing that we can utilize as the catalyst to make a difference or the catalyst for change, right? So if we say if we say there's a deficit where there's not enough of good quality entertainment going out or good quality cultural enriching content that's going out there, now we have BTSN as kind of like that lighthouse to say, nope, over here, that's what we're doing. So the move is to take all the energy of what we see as being a deficit and to see how can we turn this into an asset? How can we now use this energy to be agents of change?
Yeah, we got to
Attaching it
always
to
make our own shit for
attaching into
sure.
a like-minded multi-million-dollar brand that goes along with the same type of interest and that attacks the same people and reaches the same type of people. You know what I mean? The same way the dudes that created uh putting out music through a Red Bull label. They're an energy drink. How the hell do they got a rap label? Because you got the same type of kids that's doing music up all night in the studio drinking what? Red Bull.
Yep.
So they got into music, and when they got into music, what they get? One of the best West Coast artists that came out since YG Blast.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So if
Yeah.
BTSN could get with, you know what I mean? It's just all about, like that's where Badru come at. He good with going out, figuring out how to get Pepsi to come in and give him $1 million. Badru got the money.
facts,
You better listen to him.
Yeah.
facts.
No, but honestly,
But you
no,
get the
honestly,
money.
Badru
all
get the
that,
money. Them the mountains he was talking about.
that's the mountains. That is
Go
the
ahead,
mountains.
go ahead,
But
Bat. You gonna say something?
in real time, for real, that's circles back to why we even started this room because everybody went around and said what they do and it's all about influence, creative freedom to do your own creatives, say your own shit. And I know since before COVID, you know, we all had a version of open to the world with what we did that was way more up close and personal. Like whether you had a studio that was the spot and people had to come by your studio on a regular basis just to kind of check in on that corner of hip hop, or it's a weekly club that you got where people know to show up and kind of vibe out with the like minded homies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, podcast, whatever. We kind of stopped being untouchable like that. You know what I mean? So it was like we started thinking, okay, let's just have a conversation that we all hold down. That's not the regular conversation how they tell you it's supposed to go. That nobody have influence on but us. And then, like anything else, y'all all know how it is when you have your section that you hold down, where it's your couple of thousand people, whatever. Then when you negotiate with people and talk about what you want, you're saying it's not just me, it's all of us. And I talk to people on a regular. I can go take this up for discussion with my 8,000, 10,000 people right here, and they'll give me some feedback. So, what's that value to you? And we just start building on that value. So, just controlling the conversation or just hosting the conversation, not really controlling it, but just being the ones that are like, anchoring a conversation that people not already have is a good strategy when you trying to say, here's my value in conversations with brands and shit like that. You know what I mean? So And if you listen to this conversation, you never had that conversation in hip hop, just sitting around. You haven't had it yet because you ain't never sat with this combination of people and the difference in perspective in just albums. Just talking about the albums alone made you realize there's different type of hip hop lovers on this call. You see what I'm saying? And the number one thing we could do for any brand or anybody who want to partner with us is understand our section better than everybody else. Like I call you and say wear a red shirt. Everybody on this call may show up with a different shade of red. He got on cherry red. He got on a candy apple red. This nigga shit is kind of faded. But when we know to say wear your maroon joint to go with the you know wear your USC. Boom. Now people know what to do because we know how to target our shit right and talk to our people right. So this conversation is a big part of it. You know what I mean? Scanning different people are part of it, and there's other people who are missing who's going to be here, and then we just build it out. So having a section you hold down to me is a big first start for a gang of people who don't have no other specific business anchor in it. I mean, BTSN is part of it, and we want to facilitate as much as we can. But there's other people going to do their podcast, and there's other people who, we're going to all be talking and building with that. Hopefully, it benefit them too, and everything we all doing.